Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. In today's episode, we're going to be studying a piece by the career multidisciplinary artist known as Amir Zand. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at the influences of Near Eastern or Persian culture. We're also going to explore the hero who revives his cultural past. Let's jump right into it. So at first sight, we're met with the shrouded subject sitting on this solid stone center. He appears, it's almost as if we're witnessing kind of a candid moment. We're behind the brush on the right, and the figure does not notice us in any way. So perhaps we're kind of viewing this in a candid moment here. Of course, the placement of our subject in center draws our eye, and it feels like everything revolves around this lone subject. We see this further reinforce, of course, the colorful contrast against that solid stone behind. I find that incredibly important here. And colors within this composition, we see two different color schemes, right? We have the analogous, that is a balanced color scheme of kind of a blue and a green, but we also have a complementary scheme that is the reddish orange and the yellow here. So those are going to be contrasting. Of course, we have the balance in the background, but we also have those contrasted elements, which of course elevate the subject, especially set in center here. And this is pretty interesting, right? We see this sense of rhythm within the composition as well, especially in the kind of backing beyond this blue backing. There is an even visual rhythm provided by those kind of gradient texture, if you will. But of course, that is in direct contrast to the lone subject here. So the eye is going to be drawn back towards the center time and time again. And I wanted to ask you guys, what was your first impression of this composition? I think that's a pretty important point here. Of course, we see our lone subject set in center, right? This is a very common subject that we see in a ton of Amir Zand's work, and so is that obelisk or that monolith which he has in his hovering hand. This is the first work that I ever showcased from Amir Zand. You have that shrouded subject, of course, with that yellow golden cloak, and then you also have this massive monolith or the obelisk, and that is quite reminiscent of the one which he has hovering within his hand there. And that's pretty interesting, right? His attention is being paid upon that, and that even glows a bit as well. And this symbol is pretty interesting to consider, right? Monoliths or obelisks are pretty solid symbols. They stand strong through time, and they can endure quite a bit as well. So they are symbols of strength, there are symbols of endurance, and even preservation as a result as well. I think they're all very important here. And it's pretty interesting. He almost kind of commands this artifact within his grasp. And like I said, his attention is being paid on it directly. So that's going to draw our eye towards that, and of course elevate the visual and symbolic impact of that as well. And of course, art itself is also kind of a preservation through time as well, right? Whenever you create a piece of art, it can live beyond, and in many ways the kind of disintegration of civilization is an inevitability. But despite that, what is left are the tales which we tell each other and even create through different artistic artifacts. I think we certainly see the influences of that here. And like I said, he's sitting on this solid stone, and behind him is this massive statue. This is what we call the Huma or the Huma bird, and that is a pretty important symbol in kind of Iranian or Near Eastern culture. And I found quite a few different meanings for the Huma bird. Some say fortune, some say, good luck, prosperity, some say paradise, and there's even some renditions which kind of talk about a phoenix-like bird as well. I actually have another image of this. I'm going to bring that in real quick and see what we can learn. All right, so I brought in two different graphics here. We have another work from Amir Zand, and then we have a photograph, which is from modern-day Iran. This is about 2,500 years ago, so definitely a very ancient and profound symbol there. This is most reminiscent of what we see in the original work. Of course, two heads. You have, of course, the limbs on either side as well, and that greater whole is absolutely massive. So we see this kind of enlarged within the composition, gives it more importance, but as well, you see the profound symbol of the Homa or the Huma bird in the work before us. Here, of course, another illustration by Amir Zand. We have the lone hero sitting atop a pillar, and then the massive symbol is kind of overlooking or even watching over the lone subject. And, this symbol has been associated with everything from prosperity, paradise, even the kind of eternal phoenix. There's so many different reasons this symbol has been used. And so if you want to look deeper into that bird, maybe even contemplate on the importance of this symbol within the composition, I would surely suggest that as well. But like I said, there is no doubt this is a very ancient and even eternal symbol at that. And of course, we see the revival of those symbols in the modern day through different artworks of both a modern, contemporary, and even new age nature. So yeah, I just want to bring those in real quick, talk a little bit about the Homer or the Huma bird as a very profound and ancient symbol. So yeah, that was the Homa or the Huma bird. Of course, it is a very divine symbol. We especially see that behind the lone subject, and even this glow, it draws my eye time and time again. Of course, it is incredibly important here. And the original artist likes to talk about his cultural heritage quite a bit. He is of Persian descent, so we certainly see the influences within this composition. And I actually studied Echoes of the Past. It's a very colorful piece that I recently talked about, but that really shows a revival of color in a lot of his works, and I think we certainly see the further echoes of this as well. The colors within this composition give it a life that is second to none. When we think of, ancient cultures, we typically don't look at the color. We see these kind of monotone or drained color statues, but it's very important to remember that these civilizations were very colorful as well. Color is a very vibrant and important part of life. So just want to mention that, of course, as well. Then, of course, we see the ancient Persian influences within this composition, right? That is incredibly important here. But despite this, there's the influence of the sci-fi or a new age as well. We are no longer within the ancient, we are in a new age. And so we see a revival of that. We also have, say, the science fiction that is most indicative of that pillar which he is commanding there. But at the end of the day, it's hard to say exactly what is happening here. Perhaps the Homa or the Huma bird is giving him some prosperity or fortune through his journey. Maybe he is searching for eternal truth or wisdom. There's so many different things you could cite within this composition, but at the end of the day, this is a hero's journey, right? He may be on the long path towards salvation. He may be uncovering civilization to revive and revitalize that. There's so many different things you could point to when you're looking at this captivating and absolutely stunning composition. But yeah, at the end of the day, I wanted to ask you guys, how will you revive the cultural influences of your past? It's incredibly important. Like I said, art immortalizes our past. So, to go back to look and uncover where we came from is incredibly important. But especially, perhaps even more important, is to revive and revitalize and further integrate that into the modern day. So really hope y'all enjoyed. The work before us is a digital illustration. There is a stunning amount of attention to detail within this work. If you look very closely, you can get the tiny inklings of some brush strokes or some pen strokes there, but at the end of the day, the attention to detail is just a definitive element of Amir Zand's work. He does some amazing work in multiple different mediums, from the render all the way to the digital illustration. But yeah, like I said, I really hope y'all enjoyed today. If y'all enjoyed, go check out the original artist Amir Zand. Like I said, we talked about the influences of Persian culture, the symbolism of the Huma or Homa bird, of course, an incredibly important and very profound symbol at that. The journey of the lone hero, the influences of his ancient Persia, as well as science fiction. So many different things we hit on today. Like I said, really hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all did, go check out the original artist Amir Zand. Like I said, doing some amazing stuff in multiple different mediums. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.